Creating tints and shades with acrylic paint. You'll need your tints and shades worksheet and your colors of acrylic paint. So we're going to be using the primaries of blue, yellow, and red, plus white and black. You'll also need a couple paint brushes, and you'll need your paint palette, and a paper towel or old rag, and a jar of water. Choose one color of acrylic paint. Place that color plus black and white on your paint palette. Dip your brush in water, then wipe it off, and take that pure color of acrylic paint and paint it in the very center space of your worksheet. This is your base color. Take your time, try to do it as even as possible, and if you need to turn the paper to help you, that's okay. So in here, I turn my paper to help me get this square. Next, we're going to mix shades. In our case, what we're going to do is we're going to mix a color with black to create a shade, a darker version of the same color. So first thing I'm doing is I'm mixing some of my blue and black together, and I'm going to see what color I get. Does it lean more towards black, or does it lean more towards blue? This will give me a starting point. Then I'm going to take some of that color and put it over to the side. Do I want to mix more black into it or blue? Well, I think it needs to lean more towards blue, so I'm going to put blue in it and mix it together, and this will give a lighter shade of blue because there'll be less black in the mix than there is blue. So I'm mixing it together, and so there it is. It's a darker shade of blue than my base, but not as dark as the last one. And then next what I'm going to do is I need one that's kind of in the middle. I'm going to take a little bit of black and I'm going to take a little bit of blue and I'm going to mix them together. If needed, I can pull from my other two mixtures. So I want them to appear to be stair steps. So I have a really dark version of blue. I'm going to try for a middle version because I have one that's kind of light that looks more like blue than black. So there I am. I'm mixing it together. Make sure when you dip your paintbrush back into the original paint, don't stick a dirty paintbrush back into the pure color. I'm flipping my paintbrush around and using the end of my paintbrush to help me out. All right, so now I have a lighter version of blue, I have a middle version of blue, and the darkest. I think I might need a little bit more black in this, so I'm trying to push it darker than that middle color. Testing it out, it's starting to look more navy, which is great, and then maybe a little too much, so I'm just adjusting it. But having the three shades mixed together, it lets you see and compare, like, where do you need to go? Do you need to lighten it or darken it? So you have your base color, you have a medium color, you have a darker color, and then you have the darkest color. Then what you're going to do is you're just going to plug them in the boxes. So at the far end, at the left-hand side, is the darkest version of the color that you just mixed. So paint it in the box just like you did before. Turn your paper if you need to. Then you're going to wash off your brush, wipe it off, and go to the next color. I'm going to the middle blue color now and plugging that one in. So this is a shade of blue that is lighter than the darkest, but not as light as the one that's just underneath the normal base blue. All right, so now I'm going to my lightest version of blue that I mixed. Cleaning off my brush. And I'm going to plug him into the box. Turning my paper as I go. And I was too slow, and so my paint dried. I ran out of paint. So I remixed that color, and I used the original as a guide. Finishing up my little box, turning my paper as I work. And then now I have my base, a darker blue, a middle dark blue, and then the darkest. Now, before you go and wash off your palette, go ahead and clean your brush. Keep that same paint, and let's go down to the value scale, the smooth gradual transition, and go ahead and plug in those colors. The middle of the value scale is going to be the original color, the purest version of that color. In this case, a primary came right out of the tuber bottle. If it is one that you already mixed, it's the pure version of that mixture. So I'm starting with the blue primary color and I'm working my way down with the others. I'm working back and forth and blending them together as I work. I'm using a smaller paintbrush this time, and it's okay. I probably should have gone with a bigger one. And as I pass underneath each level of darker blue, I'm adding in the color that I mixed up. So I'm just working my way down. My goal is to create a smooth transition. You have to work fast because acrylic paint dries very quickly. And if you need to touch it up, go back and touch it up while you have the paint already mixed on your paint palette. Next, go ahead and wipe and wash the shades off your paint palette. We are going to mix tints. So tints are a color mixed with white. So I had to replace my blue, and I'm going ahead now and I'm going to add blue and I'm going to add white together. Remember, don't stick a dirty paintbrush in your pure color. In this case, I'm putting the back of a paintbrush into my white to pull it down, mixing them together, and I'm going to look and see what I got. Okay, so I mixed a pretty light blue, so I'm going to take some of the original blue color and put it into a part of that other mixture. So I pulled it away from the first mixture I made so I can create another color beside it. So I'm going a little bit darker. All right, so now I'm going to take some of that darker mixture and mix it with more of the original blue. All right, so now I'm getting there. I have one that is lighter, one that's middle, and one that's a little darker. Now I need to make it a little bit more towards my pure blue color, so I'm adding more of that primary in. I'm trying to get a stair step of values of blue. So this one I need to pull more towards white. I'm taking the back of my paintbrush and I'm dipping it to the white, and then I'm wiping it off and mixing it with my brush. So now I'm going to take that lightest blue and I'm going to plug it in the farthest box on the right. This is my lightest tint. Going to clean off my brush, and then I'm going to go to the next shade of blue. Uh-oh, I realized at this point I did the wrong one. The beautiful thing about acrylic paint is that you can paint right over it. So I fixed it. I went back in with the darkest one and I put it by the original blue. And now I can go in after cleaning my brush and add in that middle blue. Okay, now we're doing the value scale with the tints. So keep the paint on your palette and you're going to work down the value scale, or in this case up the value scale, to the lightest shade of blue. And every time you pass under another one of the blues that you've already painted in the little boxes, you're going to change the value by going to the lighter version of the paint. Acrylic paint dries fast, so try to feather it away from the original stroke. So you're going to push down and then you're going to lift your brush up as you go, and it's going to start to lay over the top of each other. You're going to work your way back and forth, and it's going to make a relatively smooth transition. You'll notice that if you have the brush too farther back on the value scale, you start to have weird ridges of paint, and you're just going to have to go back with a darker color and help cover them up. So that's what I'm doing now. And I'm like, oh no, I got to fix that too. And so I'm having to go back with more and more paint to help blend it back and forth. It may take some time, and that's fine. You're learning how to do it. So don't worry about it. Keep on going. You can lay down more paint if needed. Okay. You've done it. So you've made tints, and then you have your base, and then you have shades. Congratulations.